Hey there, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. It is Monday this week. And we're going to talk about the power that believing in you and your ability to create your own life has, and how to go about accessing that power, because we're often taught that we're not taught that we have it. Hey, Christina, great to see you today. And we're often taught we don't have it. I mean, for most of society, we're all just ordinary or, not worthy, and we need to earn our worth. And none of that is true. You were born worthy and you have incredible power. But a lot of what has been taught to us from very early on is blocking that power and that awareness of who you really are. And everyday things can block you, let alone just the fact that you don't even know you have it. So when you start the appreciation journal and the appreciation journey and you appreciate yourself, hey, Jackie, it's great to see you here today. As you start to appreciate yourself, you start to recognize how many times you're not, the negative voice in your head. Hello, Victoria. Great to see you too. And that negative voice in your head, when you are criticizing and judging and talking ugly to yourself, you're blocking that power to create your life, because you're blocking your connection to source energy, to God, with that negativity. But we block it in so many ways that we don't even think about. And we also block it as we're struggling with our relationship with others and we give our power away to others and to circumstances, and we let things just, we get up and then things happen and we're in a bad mood and we blame it on somebody or the weather or where the moon is, and we don't take control of the fact that it's up to us to have a good day every day, and how to own that. What do you do when your car won't start, or your debit card gets you know stolen, or like online stolen or whatever, and you have to call and do all these things? How do you keep yourself in a good place? And why is it so important? And it's important because when you're in that negative space and when you tell yourself, oh, this is going to be hard, this is difficult, it is going to be hard. Your brain is powerful, and what you tell it is what transpires. So it's important to tell yourself, you know what, this isn't a big deal. Easy to call the bank. Thank goodness we get text messages now. You can call somebody to help you with the car. You can even Uber to work if you had to. It's things are a lot easier in a lot of ways if we remind ourselves of the ways it can be easier. And of course, then we tell ourselves, well, I don't have enough money if this happens. And when you say that, that's how it transpires. But if you can believe that you're powerful and your connection to God, the universe, can provide, then you can say, it's not the best timing for my car to break down and me to have to call an Uber, but I know that God, source energy, the universe is going to provide, and everything's going to be fine. And I'm just going to call the Uber and I'm going to figure out how I need to get my car repaired, and the right person to call or who can fix it that's fair, that's going to show up for me. And it will. But believing that, and starting yourself down that path to start to trust that those can happen. And I can tell you from experience, I lost that. I knew it when I was going through cancer, because I just had to give a lot to God because I just couldn't handle it. And then the answers would show up, the solutions would show up. Then I lost it when I was helping my brother and stepped out of my business and really was struggling financially because of that choice. And I knew I was supposed to do that, but I got bogged down in in not believing in myself and feeling unworthy and beating up on myself. And it was difficult for as long as I stayed in that space. And when I started choosing to go in a different space and find a way to believe better and to choose better thoughts and look for things to appreciate, wow, it started changing. And so we have the power. We're not being punished when things aren't going our way, but we are choosing to be disconnected a lot. We're choosing to think negative thoughts. We're choosing not to believe in things without realizing it's a choice. We're just letting it go that way. Maybe we have a struggle with our teenager in the house, and we're in a bad space a lot. Well, we don't realize that, but we're actually choosing that. We have to figure out how to get ahead of that, and then how to change that same argument that we're having over and over again by doing our part to start thinking differently, our part to start looking for the good in that person and getting ahead of it. Like first thing in the morning, write down positive things about that person. And then when they come at you and you have the same argument, instead of beating ourselves up for that, think, okay, where did it start to go wrong? How can I change that? And then trust, maybe meditate, or, you know, do some things to help yourself get into that space. A lot of times what we do that also takes us really down that negative path is we have a negative encounter or negative experience, and then we go talk about it. We go tell everybody else about it. And a lot of times when we're doing that, we're actually blaming the other person. So we're talking bad about the other person, which absolutely disconnects us. Because, they're just as worthy as we are, and they're coming from their own challenging backgrounds. Everything we take to every conversation we have is a culmination of everything we've experienced, right? All the way from when we were born to now. Now, are we able to change some of our stories as we start to get the hang of this? Yes. It's not that the things didn't happen. We start to change our perspective on those stories, which gives us a way to access feeling better. And feeling better is everything. How you feel in any moment in time is your barometer of how you're doing as far as connecting to source and accessing your power. Christina says, this is something I've experienced. A lot of times I've struggled to make something work in my life because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. But it was always a struggle, and I didn't believe in it because it wasn't actually right for me. Exactly right. I think I am still working through learning how to be in alignment with myself. Yeah, and you know what? It's always a work in progress. This morning I was really out of alignment with myself, and I kind of lost it. I woke up super early, like way before I should have, didn't have enough sleep, and who knows the culmination of all the things. But something happened, and I was like losing it. And then at least I'm at the point now where I can go, it's not somebody else's fault. There's not a ghost following me around creating these things. I am not in alignment, and so I'm attracting this challenge. And, in that space of being able to laugh about it or recognize it to start with and then find a way to laugh about it, I can get myself back into a better space. But it's an ongoing, because, as we grow, what feels good to us changes, which is great because we continue to grow in that space. And supposed to blocks us from really knowing, when we have those feelings of supposed to and other, we get it just from, the environment in general. I'm supposed to be this type of mom, or I'm supposed to have this type of relationship with my child, or I'm supposed to do this certain type of job, or I'm supposed to be married, or I'm supposed to have kids. So many things. And it isn't just, it's not just our family units, it's the cultures we were raised in. It's a lot of times religion that we're raised in that has some of those things that may not actually fit for us. And we're struggling, and a lot of our out of alignment is because inside, in the deeper part of us, we're struggling with that. And so, see, Christina says, I feel like some of the doubt I have in believing in myself may be coming from me trying to be something that I wasn't meant to be. But it's been a process to unlearn it. Yeah, and then figure out what really feels good. It definitely makes things easier when I don't try to force things. Yeah, it does. It feels like a square peg in a round hole, and it's frustrating. And and we continue to feel that way until we reach the point where we can acknowledge it, and until we understand that, we just feel like there's something wrong with us. So we're never acknowledging that we could choose to be something else, that maybe we're meant to be something else. We're instead feeling like there's just something wrong with us because we don't fit. It doesn't feel good. But we're actually meant to use whether we feel good or not as a barometer, whether we're lined up with ourselves or not, and whether we're lined up with who we're meant to be and where our power is. Because our power is in feeling good. There's no power in feeling bad. That's why when we feel like a victim, we have to find a way to reclaim our power and from whatever we gave it away to. And sometimes, like I say, gave it away, and yet, if you're a child and there was a predator involved, it doesn't feel like you gave it away because it feels like you had no choice. But it still is up to us to find a way to get our power back, whether we release them, no, they couldn't do any better than what they're doing, as horrible as that may be, and acknowledge that we get to move forward and choose something different. Because as long as we stay a victim, we're a victim in other roles. Other things continue to happen to us, and we want our power back. So we want to find a way to do that. And that type of conversation and those type of challenges, it's a step by step, bit by bit, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I want to say you're worthy of that journey, and you're worthy of finding a way back to your power. And maybe back isn't even quite the right word, in the sense that finding your way to the power that is yours, that was always meant to be yours, even if someone took it away at a young age. And owning it so that no one could ever take it away. Because as adults, we do have the power, but we just don't always understand it. So we keep giving it away, like in abusive relationships, or not even necessarily, I have given my power away a lot because I felt like I needed other people to approve of me to be okay. Something I learned very young. And so I'm always been giving my power to someone else, needing that approval, and taking it back and realize I don't need anybody's approval for any reason. And it honestly is none of my business what other people say about me. It is my business to be responsible for what I say. It is my business to, if someone, says that, I've done something hurtful, it's not that what they say, it doesn't matter. I have to take it in and decide, was that my intention? And I still get to decide how that went, and do I owe them apology? And that, is this real or is this not? Because, there are people who take something personally no matter what you say, and that doesn't make you responsible. Because we're not responsible for their emotions. We're responsible for ours and what we say. And that's where our power is. And I know there's a lot of questions. So I'd love to, even if you're not here and you watch the replay, please feel free to put questions down, because we'll go into this more next week about how to get your power back, how you're giving it away in different instances. You don't realize it. So you can put an instance out there and we can talk about, how to get it back, how it's given away, why even your own mother's opinion doesn't matter. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. You love your mom and appreciate your mom or your dad or whoever, but realize that when it comes to who you are and who you're meant to be, the only one who can truly know that is you. You and God, your source, universe, no one else, no human. Because they haven't walked in your shoes. Your parents think they know you really well, but there's so much that has occurred in your life, even as a child, that they don't know. How you took things, of what other people said to you, things that happened in all kinds of different places they weren't, even when you're little. You may not consciously even know what they are, but they are all a part in who you were born to be, that's only you and God that can possibly know. And so that's really important to understand, because a huge reason we don't recognize our own power is because early on we're already looking to other people and trying to please them and make them happy, and keep our parents happy, and do the things that we don't get in trouble for, whether that's at school or our parents or in religions or in our culture, because it expands beyond our own households. And it's still there as adults. Victoria says, how does the power of belief go with mindset work? Because when you don't believe you're worthy of it, it's hard to start on the mindset work, right? And so there's belief affects so many different aspects. But and Jackie says, I think that's why it's so important to have daily convos with our higher power, because they really, yes, and it's so easy to slip into busy. So morning is usually the best time, because you have that conversation before you actually get yourself off track, right? Interacting with something or someone or your to-do, because sometimes my to-do list knocks me off track, right? I start to feel guilty instead of enjoying everything that's coming my way, including everything there is to do, because it's all about joy. This is what I'm meant to do, all of it. Even the things you're transitioning through, still, you want to be in that space of connection and joy. I know I'm supposed to be here right now because I'm here. And how can I serve in the highest way possible while I'm in this space, right? And that's what helped open the door to bigger spaces and more. And so, you know, I have found myself, I've had the beautiful blessing of helping someone believe in that their late um, spouse was still with them, even though they don't necessarily believe in a higher power. And that's the thing. There is so much love here, and we can access it from all different points. We start thinking that there's only one way sometimes, and we get hung up in what we've been taught. And really, there's so many beautiful ways, and there's so many beautiful people in different aspects that we can learn from if we're open to it and we trust that God, the universe, source energy, every person we encounter is a moment that we can be open to learning and beauty and belief that this is part of our journey and we can grow from each of these. But when we believe there's only one way or one source or one thing to call it, sometimes that blinds us to so much that can open us up to the most beautiful experiences, the most beautiful people, and the most beautiful world. And Jackie's exactly right. Part of helping you grow into believing in your worthiness is taking the time to make that connection with your power, your universe, source energy, God, whatever that name or that power or however you access it from whatever space, meditation, prayer, some combination, journaling, anything you do that helps you line up with who you are and understanding how magical and beautiful and fantastic each of us is. And when you see other people and you realize how magical they are, reflect that back to yourself, because we're all just as magical. We just don't, when you see people and they're angry and they're mean and they're ugly, they have the magic too, but they don't know how to access it. And the meanness comes from the pain that comes from not knowing how to access that love. And so many times it's because of things that happen to them early in life. So compassion doesn't mean you have to stand right beside them and take their punches. And it doesn't mean that you are responsible for changing them, because no one can do that but them. But maybe you're an access portal for an idea for them or something they can get hold of. Doesn't mean you stay there. It means you that's where you give out what you have lovingly and freely and keep moving, because you're only responsible for you. And of course, accept in love from everyone who loves you back. Give that love away freely as much as possible and receive it just as freely, because that's the power, the ripple effect that allows us to be there for more people and love more people and give the opportunity to more people to get to show up in this way, right? And so, love yourself when you have those moments. If I beat up on myself when I had those moments earlier today, would I get to be here lined up, able to have this full conversation with you guys? No, because I wouldn't be in the space that I need to be in for this conversation. But the thing is that we're all human. You're going to have those moments when you have a mini meltdown or you feel really sad and you're not able to access, hey, what I'm sad about, guess what? That other person, whether they're here or not here in physical body, is so loved and loves us back, and we can access them in our space and just in a different way. And when we can access that, it feels so good, right? And it reminds us how huge the love is for us, and how magical we all have the opportunity to get to connect to and be, and how joyful and wonderful it is when we get to make those connections. So it's worth figuring it out. One of the biggest things I'll tell you is be kind to yourself. When you're a hot mess, be kind, because beating yourself up is what continues the hot mess disconnect, right? Like my hot mess disconnect this morning. But instead you have to go, gosh, oh my, that was tragic. That was amazing. Okay, guess what? I'm good. Hello, God. Hello, universe. I love you and thank you for being there for me no matter what. And let's roll this popsicle joint. Let's go do something. Jackie says, when I have those incongruent thoughts, I just stop. S, stop. T, think. What am I thinking? Yes. O, observe my feelings right then. Yes. And P, proceed. Yeah, and sometimes I also not only observe my feelings, but have a conversation with myself. When I think, what am I thinking? I'm like, oh, what am I thinking? And then I'm like, that was funny. When I stopped thinking and started just responding to emotion. So then I couldn't find the solution, which was right in front of me, right? So when we stop, take a deep breath, there's always a solution. Why am I thinking there's not a solution? There's a solution. And then observe how I'm feeling. I'm feeling stressed right now because I'm believing there's not a solution. Oh, but there's always a solution. Okay, now what do I need to do? And you might have to sit there a minute to figure out what the next step is and just take some deep, cleansing breaths and be in that space and be okay with what that space is. And Jackie, I know you've had the opportunity to have lots of experience with this. So really, really appreciate your input on this call today because it's very valuable, as are all of you. And gosh, it's so good to talk about these things. And, when I talk about them, it reminds me too, right? To step in there. I love you too, Jackie. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank all of you for joining us today. Love for you to come back next week. We can talk about how other people get us off track. Today, we kind of talked about how we get ourselves off track. How do we handle when other people, especially people that we have this ongoing thing with, or, think about it through the week, because you can come in at any point in time. Go to this one, type in your response, because you can go here. You don't have to watch the replay to go here. Put in, hey, I had this experience. How do I handle that? Or what do we do with this type of thing? Because we'll go with that next week. Because, that's one of the biggest things that we struggle with. And it takes us out of our ability to connect and get to be in our power, which then allows us to love these people we're having conflict with, be it coworkers, bosses, as well as family and friends. So, I love you guys so much. And I so appreciate you coming and joining us today. And I can't wait for next week. And I hope you have a fantastic week. And you think about these things we talked about today, and you start thinking about how you can access your power and believe in you. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you next Monday. Thank you so much.